When did you start? You started with your kids learning Kempo, right? In a family plan?
Yeah, family plan with Ed Parker. And I had a couple years of that. I thought I'd pretty much seen it all, and then I got a chance to see Bruce, and so we became what we jokingly called turncoats. We switched and started taking lessons with Inosano and Bruce. The name what?
The ass kicker of Chinatown.
Ass kicker.
Yeah, Bruce called him that when, not Bruce, Dan Inosano. When we went to Inosano one time, I came, Sonny Bygum and Bob and I went there, and he said there was a guy doing some kind of Wing Chun seminar deal, and we walked in. Dan Inosano said, "Here he is, Bob Bremer, the #1 ass kicker of Chinatown." You know?
Yeah, the ass kicker. So he never said that when I was doing it.
But apparently, from what I've heard from other people, when the big bad guy would come from somewhere to try to test the JKD out, they always put him with Bob. You know, that didn't last long.
It was good for me though, because I'd look at the guy after I did a job on him. I'd look at him and think, I never fight that guy out in the street. He looks too mean, But then it was good for me because I'd take a giant step, and so I'd never fight that guy, and it was easier than I thought. These guys, they couldn't move around as much as they should have, right?
I started. Actually, I started martial arts like in 1954 doing a little judo, but I really started in '62 in Taiwan. Came back, going to college, saw Bruce in '67, and I had a kung fu school, and I thought I really want to kind of learn this, but I had college. By the time I got out of college and started teaching was 1970. By that time, Bruce was gone, so I knew Inosano and got his phone number, called him up. He said, "Come on down," and I've been doing JKD ever since. First night I was there, I had to spar him and Danny Lee, but luckily I stuck around anyway. But it was kind of interesting. I was doing Jeet Kune Do, and then because I was a school teacher and off in the summer, and Dan Inosano started doing these seminars, I guess in like 1988, 1989 in the summer. One summer he couldn't do it, and I was the only one that could go do it, so I did it for him. Then I started doing all these summer seminars and stuff. And I was learning all kinds of other things besides the JKD. And then Bob started coming around. He moved out this way, finally retired. He'd come to the Wednesday night class, and he'd sit there, and sometimes I'd see him kind of shaking his head, and he'd say, "Well, there's some things there I'd like to say, but by the time I think of it, you moved on to something else. I don't want to interrupt you." I say, "Just blurt it out." So he started blurting it out, and our Jeet Kune Do really changed. It became more functional. There's a group called Functional Jeet Kune Do, But a lot of stuff that I was doing, I didn't really know the exact breaking it down of exactly how do you punch, exactly why do you do this when you're doing it. And some of the stuff that Bob was showing, and that you're going to show on your DVD, I hope, is that stuff that really makes the Jeet Kune Do work, and stuff that I haven't seen anywhere else. And I've worked with everybody out there in Jeet Kune Do. I mean, there's some people that have some stuff like really good stuff like Ted Wong's footwork, but the stuff that Bob showed us once he started blurting it out really changed our whole approach to Jeet Kune Do and made it where it really works now. It really works. I've gone to a guy, I won't say where, but he's under somebody else, and he said, "I don't really know what to do because what you showed me really works, and the other stuff we're doing doesn't work against it. And I don't know exactly what to do." So hopefully with this DVD, people will see the difference between what we're doing and what maybe some of the other groups are doing. If that makes any sense at all. Yeah, I threw away almost everything else. I kept a little bit. Some of the stuff I kept has sort of helped us a little bit. Bruce talked about it, but he didn't really, the heavy hitting, he talked about it, but he never really taught it, but he wrote about it, so I knew he understood it. He just never got around to teaching it. But most of what we do is basic stuff I learned from Inosano, and then mostly it's just Bremer stuff, He has stuff that is just unique that I've never seen anybody else do, and I think it's because Bruce worked with different people differently, and I think he saw Bob as the guy that was going to be fighting everybody that walked in the door, and he tried to give him the things that really make it work, And I think being Bob was kind of husky. I think some people said it was like fighting a lumberjack, and so he was a little more. Bruce could work with him differently than he could work with a Ted Wong. Ted Wong needed to be fast, and Bob needed to get in there and bang. You know, it's just a different approach. So you need to be able to do both, I think, if you're going to teach. I think if you're going to be a fighter, you just do it, stick to it. If you're going to be a teacher, you have to be able to teach both. You have to be able to teach the guy that's not going to be able to run in there and do the banging. You got to be able to, teach the guy who can do that. The hard thing about being a teacher is that sometimes you have to do things, teach things that you may not really do yourself. You have to get right down to it, But that's what a teacher do.
Concepts.
Well, the idea of, there's an idea I think that some people say that Jeet Kune Do is just taking the best of all these different martial arts and putting it together. It's kind of like, I guess, Dorothy Parker's definition of Oakland. There's no there. There's just no base, there's no foundation. Then there's other people that say you can only do what Bruce Lee did. And I think really both approaches are wrong. What we try to do is to teach the basic foundation, the function of Jeet Kune Do. This is what it is. And then you can look at other things and say, I like that elbow technique. As long as it fits within that structure and it adds something to it that's maybe lacking in you, then you can go ahead and add it, but it's your personal martial art. It's not, we don't call that Jeet Kune Do. If we pick up an elbow from Thai boxing, we don't call it Jeet Kune Do, we call it Thai boxing. So we've added things to it. Bob said it's called, we've increased our usable knowledge. And right now we're working on some grappling, because you never know when you're getting up on the ground. And so we've been working with Lloyd Kennedy on grappling. I've worked with other people, and so it's but we do a JKD approach to it. Get it over with, get up and get back on your feet. We don't try to roll around on the ground for 20 minutes trying to get a guy in an elbow lock. And luckily that our grappling guy has that same kind of mentality that Bert Poe had. That working with Bert Poe was the same type of thing. Grab him, hurt him, break something, and get on down the road.
He came with the Bruce Lee attitude, and I told him that the JKD attitude came with him.
Yeah. We've been fortunate in this little garage. We've always had somebody. First of all, Bert started showing up, and Bert Poe had some dynamite, stuff that was stuff that helped us. And we don't add for the sake of adding. We don't want to have 500 things to do against a straight punch. And then Lloyd Kennedy, Bert passed away, and then we had Sonny, Bygum, and then Lloyd Kennedy showed up, Bremer showed up. So this little garage has been a real strange kind of thing. We have some of the best martial artists around showing up here. It's been really interesting. And we don't charge any money, it's kind of strange. In fact, that's why we don't have any students sometimes, So anyway.
Because we're too cheap?
We're too cheap. If you don't charge a lot, it's not worth anything. I don't want to talk about other things. People can judge for themselves. They can look at what you're doing and look at what other people are doing and see it. I don't think doing getting in a weak hand forward thing and doing a jab to set up something, that's not JKD. So simplicity, economical movement, being able to hit hard. I think one thing we want to have all our instructors be able to do is when they kick a focus glove or they hit a focus glove, you got to look at it and go, God, I would like to learn that, and I wouldn't want to get hit with it. It's that you work on a few things done well. Any martial art that's very good, that really does a lot of good as a martial art that focuses on a few things done well, whether it's some of the jiu-jitsu you see, whether it's Thai boxing, it's a few things done well. And I think the few things that we do well is stands up with any other martial art. Right, Bob?
If you say so.